Alright everyone, Dr. Incompetent here, getting ready to pick up where I left off with this self-named Hill-Orc of Trog in my Hill-Orc Berserker guide. And we're just kind of flying around Dungeon 12, just tab obliterating most of the enemies here. Doing our javelin thing. Remember, I'm pumping points into throwing. Oh, and here is Urug, and he is a named orc. He's going to throw javelins at me, and I'm going to throw javelins at him. I'm going to turn on my regeneration with Trog's hand and just get him into range because he's poking me with his demon trident, and we'll just obliterate him. Now, unfortunately, this acid dragon has corroded us, so it's time to just go berserk. Corrosion is something that can stack up quite quickly against a melee character, and it does minus slaying and minus armor class to you. So what that means is your weapon is hitting less frequently, doing less damage, and you are taking more damage. Basically the worst possible thing that can happen if you're trying to tank things. So you want to avoid getting corrosion stacked up on you, and it can stack on you in a hurry. Not to mention the fact that acid just does a lot of damage, and I don't believe I have resist corrosion at this point, or even if I do, it doesn't prevent it from stacking, it just helps you resist it. Now remember, you can quaff a potion of cancellation to get rid of corrosion if it becomes a problem, but I just solve a lot of problems with Berserk. I'm going to go into the Orcish Mines. I'm feeling strong enough for that at this point with this character. And I'm going to stack up on gold and hopefully just get some experience here, see if there's any kind of treasure that's worthwhile. The mines themselves won't necessarily have great treasure on the upper floors, but there might be a named person or just an orc fighter who's got an artifact item on him or her. So I'm scumming this primarily for the experience and the gold, and with the hopes of going down to the bottom of the Orcish Mines and getting some luck in the shops that lay below and completing our kit. So remember, we've got javelins, so they pierce. Orcish priests are the primary targets here for us because they can smite, and that goes through our armor. With respect to Orcish fighters, they do wear plate, they are pretty stout, but I'm not as worried about them as I am priests. So I kind of prioritize taking out the priests if I can. I'm just going to back into a nice little corridor for myself, and here we go. I just got smited, as you can see, and so I took a rather large hit. I'm going to turn on my regeneration. And now we have a Orcish High Priest. He's the guy in the blue robes. He can summon things, he can smite you, he can do all sorts of nasty things. So it's time to just go berserk and get in this guy's face. Remember, he is wearing a robe, so as long as we can hit him up close, he's not a problem. Now, we slowed down, we've been corroded. It's time to go back away and just rest and get rid of all of our debuffs, all of our corrosion. Really not that much of a challenge for us because we've got Berserk and because we're so strong otherwise. But remember, there's no shame in just running away and getting a better shakedown of those enemies, letting them kind of just move around. Nothing in that shop that I'm interested in. Alright, so Orcish Mines 1 done, and there's another. This is a really unfortunate screen to see. So there's an Orcish High Priest and an Orc Sorcerer. We want to get the casters down first, and that's pretty much a good rule of thumb most of the time, is to just get the casters. In this case, I can exploit the stair dancing here, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring the Sorcerer up, and I'm going to turn on my Trog's hand because I know I'm going to get surrounded when I step down, and I'm going to just go berserk. Now this is a little reckless, but I have an axe, and I'm really strong, and I'm not worried about these guys. So I'm just going to, you know, even though my positioning is not ideal because I'm surrounded, remember I'm cleaving. So I've got my axe, so I can do all sorts of bad things to these people, especially whilst berserk. So I'm kind of looking to see if there's any better weapons. I have this weapon that has a bunch of cool brands on it in terms of defense, and the anti-magic is good for offense, but it's +0, so I'm not doing a lot of damage. Okay, so now here's the High Priest doing his thing, summoning a whole bunch of nasty things, so I'm not even going to mess around with it. I'm just going to go Berserk. And remember, Berserk takes no piety, it just exhausts you, so if you're in a safe spot, it might seem like overkill, but I like to do it. Food is not a problem. It used to be that Berserking would make you so hungry that, especially with a troll character, you would start to run out of food. That would become a problem. But with a Hill-Orc, you know, it's not an issue. And some good gods might care about you cannibalizing orcish corpses here and eating them as an orc, but Trog is evil. He does not mind if you eat orcs as an orc. So there's plenty of food. Let's just have a fun little throwing battle with this guy. Bop him with the boomerangs. Oh, look at that. Killed by the weapon from down under. This guy's got a reach weapon, so we got to get close. There's a sorcerer and a wizard. So the wizards are jokes. I mean, they can be kind of annoying with confusion and things like that, but for the most part, I'm not concerned. The sorcerers are more of a threat, so let's just walk them up the steps and fight them one-on-one. The orc sorcerer does not want to fight me up close with this axe. I'm draining his magic. Okay, now it's time to back out, and I'm just going to go berserk to kill this orcish knight quickly before things get out of hand. Remember, I like to berserk early so that if it does go south and I need to run away once my berserk ends, I'm not just dead in one shot. And I don't want to wait until it's too late. I'm looking for a different staircase down here because, as you can see, there was one of those orcs in red plate, and he is, I believe he's a warlord. I can't remember exactly what his name is. We'll see in a second. But he buffs all the other orcs. He's hard to kill himself. Okay. I was just trying to fight normally, but it's not working out. I'm just going to go berserk and kill this high priest before it gets squirrely. Okay, good. His summons disappear when he dies. We can take out this guy with the battle axe, no problem. Now, I'm going to go backwards right there before I go down. And why did I do that? Why didn't I charge to him? Because if you are berserk and your berserk is kind of waning, moving is one of the things that will just kill your berserk the fastest. And so if I would have just tried to close distance on that guy, look at all the unexplored territory around, I would have come out of berserk and been slow, fighting a guy in an area where things can add on, like this caster, for example, who can summon a bunch of crap. And look, he summoned something that actually blocked my stairwell. These are the kinds of things that can happen with summoners, and why you don't want to just run out when you're berserk and risk getting devastated because you're slow and you're exhausted and you can't berserk again. So I'm going to stare dance this guy again, and remember, stare dancing is just your friend. It's when available, exploit the crap out of this. Here we go, step down, bring up two guys, see if they have anything good. Get their food, step down, see what's the situation below. Okay, so people have kind of cleared away from the stairway, and we got a guy with a crossbow. So we can just play the ranged game with this guy. Unfortunately, my shield is just a buckler, so I'm not super good at this, but I do it for amusement, and because my throwing is pretty prime at this point. And I'm just going to kind of wait until the sorcerer gets next to me so I can step up. I don't care about his summon, I'm not going to waste time attacking it. But now that he's here, I can kill him easily on this floor, and then go back down and take out this knight. Oh, and there's two knights now, and so I'm just going to stare dance the one knight that's close, heal up, and then now go back in and run in and kill this guy. Oh, regular orc. Biog bless ya, you little guy. Okay, so I'm seeing if there's... I got a god gift, and I want to make sure that I have safely examined and considered all of the options Trog gives me. So you can always just Control F and look for god gifts. There's a brand that goes on god gifted items, so you can easily remember what they were, when Trog gave them to you, where, those kinds of cool things for the history of the item. Alright, let's just check in this shop, and you know, I'm going to buy this glowing broadaxe to see if the brand on it is anything good. So I'm going to, I don't have a scroll of identification, so I'm not going to blind wield the weapon. In case there are certain brands on weapons that do damage to you or bad things to you when you de-equip them, like distortion, for example. So I'm not going to just blind equip that. This guy is summoning stuff, so let's just go berserk. We're next to him, and all of his summons disappear when he dies, so we just concentrate on killing him, ignore everything else, and we are good to go. Alright, let's just keep obliterating people and see what's in the store. Well, there's enchant armor. That's fantastic. I'll buy the scroll of fear as well. Always good to be able to shuck people off. And silence can be extremely helpful against all sorts of casters that you don't want open in their big mouth. Alright, let's just obliterate these guys. Okay, and that was a fun tab explosion. And I'm going to summon a guy in. Unfortunately, I just got a regular ogre. This might be a retreat moment. I've got a lot of guys. I'm going to step up here and just target the high priest and see how it goes. Okay, we've killed the regular priest. Oh, the high priest is just about to... Yeah, okay. We got him. We don't even need to go berserk. We just have Trog's hand and a summoned guy, and that was enough there. That was a bit of a reckless maneuver, but those are my patented maneuvers. Okay, and here comes the warlord in the red, like I was talking about before. Let's just get a few javelin chucks safely from the stairwell here. None of these guys can knock me off of the staircase, except for maybe with a confusion or something like that. But my magic resist, given my experience level, should be too much for these orcish wizards to handle. Oh, Trog just gave us a weapon. Delightful. Let's see what that is after we kill some of these guys. Oh, God, we just killed the warlord with our javelins. And let's just berserk then and just clean up the rest here. Alright, and remember, we go upstairs to rest so that when we come out of berserk and we're slow, there's nobody around to give us a hard time. Let's look for the god gift that was given here. A runed war axe. Okay. They sort these by closest to furthest away. If you're curious, all right. So here's the runed war axe. Okay, so we picked it up, and we still don't have any identification, and so I'm just, you know, going to check these things out old-fashioned. Oh, it's an artifact, and no, it's not. I'm sorry. It's just a broadaxe of flaming. The white text threw me off. But the amazing thing is, we now have a broadaxe of flaming, which is quite a treat for hydras. We needed something to deal with hydras, and that will do it for us. So, the hydra dilemma has been solved. These silver javelins are just sick. You saw them just going through all of those orcs and giving them hell. Alright. Well, that cloak of the thief is amusing, except slay -2 is something I'll never use. Earlier I had my enchant armor scroll. I pumped it into my crystal plate. Here's a warlord because crystal plate. I don't think I'm going to be replacing that anytime soon, so that is a very safe item to use enchant armor on. You won't like get a better item later and then regret using one of your limited scrolls of enchant armor on it. You will always be happy. You can get it all the way up to +14, and that's my plan. Okay, a bunch of books, and remember, Trog hates reading and magic, so he no likey any of those. But later, if we want to switch off of Trog, it might be, you know, a consideration to branch into some spellcasting. And the really nice thing about the game is, just by going into that shop, it will remember all of the spellbooks that were there if I ever want to buy them later. Okay. Alright, so that looks like Orcish Mines 2, just, you know, devastated and done with. Pretty good. So, we need to think about what our next play is. It's probably going to be to go deeper into the mines and try and find the big old vault full of orcs. So let's go see what we find when we explore. But first, have I found a shield or boots? No. No shield except the buckler I have, and no amulets except the amulet of harm, and no boots whatsoever. So we have a few holes in the old inventory that we need to patch up, and that's going to be the objective, you know, that we look for as we move forward. Hopefully the shops in Orc 3 will have something better than what we have. Let's manage our inventory a bit. This +0 broadaxe is not necessary. Alright, let's just make sure there's nothing else here on Orc 2 before we leave, because I was mistaken. There isn't an Orc 3. This is as good as it's going to get for now in terms of finding any treasures. So let's press on to the Lair. It's the only other place that we have to go, and we're okay in the Lair. We have resist poison, so we should be strong enough to destroy this place. To be honest, most of the Lair is easier than Orc 2 anyway, and we have that broadaxe of flaming. Alright, so here's a bunch of yaks. Now, yaks are really not that bad. Earlier in my career, they would surprise me with how much damage that they do, but generally, if you're geared up properly as a melee, they're not that hard. They can hit hard. Okay, so here's a bunch of electric eels, and I'm foolishly dancing around in the water and letting them blast me. So let's heal up and then think of a new strategy. So we can throw javelins at these guys, but we also can evoke our Wand of Flame, which is the best option, and let's see. I don't know if that hit him or just hit the side of that thing instead. Anyway, that definitely killed him. Bunch of blink frogs coming in, so let's take them separately before we deal with that other electric eel. Remember, our axe at the moment is a freezing war axe, so we're slowing down all the cold-blooded stuff here in the Lair, which is most of it. So let's give this guy a Wand of Flame, and he's dead. And so now we can explore this watery area without as much fear. Alright. And just kind of trolling along here, auto-exploring, picking up some gold, blowing away porcupines and the like. Alright, there's a cloak. We do have a +2 cloak of resist poison, so we're not going to be replacing that anytime soon. So let's just keep flying around through the levels. Alright, and let's go down and... oh, distant snort. Okay, so that means that there is a gauntlet on this level, and I feel good, so I'm gonna... I don't have a scroll of mapping, apparently, but I'm going to try to find this gauntlet because I want the treasure inside. You get 2 treasure paths in the gauntlet, and I need some gear, and I'm strong, so I should be able to do well there. Plus, the Minotaur himself usually has something fancy, and so let's go ahead and look for that. So where would I be if I were a gauntlet? I'm not auto-exploring at the moment. I'm just walking around trying to locate this as quickly as possible. The auto-explore takes a little bit too long, and so I will use it to jump to new locations and things, but I need to take over and do manual control to locate this. Here it is. Okay, it's a yellow dot, or this kind of archway, and we're gonna go in. Now, when you go into a gauntlet, there's going to be some tracks of treasure. Generally, I see 2. I heard somebody say that they can sometimes be in a track of 3, but they give you 2 options, and you can see through these translucent glass walls what treasure and monsters are inside to make your choice. There will be a few chambers that you can teleport through using the gateways, and you can pick up the treasure inside, providing you can get to it and get out, or kill the monsters, or both. So I'm just looking around, and I generally base this on 2 criteria. Number 1, the treasure. That's the most important criteria. And then number 2, and you see there you can't teleport. You can't blink or teleport in here, so you can't like cheat and just kind of like use a teleport scroll and then... well, I'm sorry, you can blink. You can't teleport. And so you can't just like get lucky, get inside, and then teleport out. You have to take the challenge that you commit to. But the number 2 thing that I look for here is how difficult it is. And, you know, if I feel like I just can't take the particular monster types that are in there, I'm not going to risk my life just for a good piece of treasure unless I weigh the risk reward and it seems appropriate. And that's up to you. So I see a pair of gloves here and a scroll. And I think overall this just is more attractive to me. So I'm going to use Trog's hand and just go inside. And then I'm okay fighting these guys. Let's pick up the unidentified scroll, okay? And then you go in here, and then you get into a little vestibule where you can rest unmolested by monsters if you need to. I'm okay. I'm just going to go berserk and kill that summoner, so there's no funny business. That's pretty much my MO, no funny business. There's a little guy over here, but he's not a problem. He's just an imp, an iron imp. So let's go ahead and pick up the scroll of magic mapping. And then I'm hungry, so I might attend to that, or I might just wait and eat some spider. There we go. Let's eat. And then let's go in. All right, now the Rage Moth has to go first, so he doesn't berserk anybody, and then everything else is just redbacks, which aren't that bad. Lightning Rod is fantastic, evocable item, and a pair of runed gloves, okay? So we got some magic gloves, and we don't have a scroll of identification, so do we want to just put these on? And they are +0 gloves of archery, which is actually pretty fantastic because we're leveling throwing, we've got these javelins, so we might as well just, you know, get crazy with archery. I like it. Okay. And so it gives you like slaying +4 with thrown weapons. So that's 2 hit and that's damage. So that is an immense boost on an already powerful item. I have 5 silver javelins at the moment. Okay, so he's going to be throwing silver javelins at me, so I need to close the distance. I don't want to just trade javelins with him. I'm more comfortable hitting him with my axe, considering he has a dagger. It's a nice artifact dagger, but I don't have any desire to get it. So let's see here. Now we got a bunch of silver javelins, which is great. We've got 14 now. That's a huge haul of silver javelins. Let's look at all the treasure that's here. There's artifact leather, meh. Some staves, don't need them. Scrolls of immolation, no thank you. Okay, and here are the zombie minotaurs. So let's just open the doors and deal with the undead friends of the minotaur. I'm just going to say that word friend, and you can interpret that however you want. And at this point, I think we're pretty much done. It wasn't the best of all gauntlets. The Minotaur's loot was underwhelming besides the silver javelins and the gauntlet loot itself. We did get a scroll and the gloves of archery, which aren't bad, but, you know, nothing too huge, but the most important thing is we came out of there alive. So I'm going to throw my javelin, and you know, you're going to see me doing this more often in melee, which is kind of crazy, but using the javelin because it pierces. If I can hit more than one enemy with it, and there's a valuable target behind, I'm going to do that. Now remember, I do cleave with my axe. This guy has turned me to stone, which, whatever. Like, I lose my shield skill, which is a shame, being turned to stone, but I have such a high armor class, and there was no other enemies on the screen that I was able to just kind of like take a chance on that. Given more enemies, I would have had to take a more responsible tact against that guy. Now, Sanja is really, really hard. In my experience, she can she blinks, she dodges, and she poisons the crap out of you with her darts. So I'm gonna go ahead and go up and just rest, and then come back down. I'm gonna eat, and I'm gonna try to engage her a little bit better. It didn't go well that time, and sometimes you just have to rest and recuperate, and then come back and try to fight again, and then the rolls will go your way. Alright, so here I am again, not at full health, having to fight her. I'm going to use my regeneration immediately, but then my silver javelins with my gloves of archery just obliterate her. And now you see Trog has given me ammunition, which unfortunately are these, like, poison-tipped darts or whatever, that I'm not too huge on. I wish it were javelins, but as you're going to see throughout this run, Trog comes through in an unexpected way for me here by just giving me ammunition, giving me things to throw with my huge throwing skill and my gloves of archery. It becomes a very, very effective means of taking down high hit dice monsters with javelins, or even, you know, silver boomerangs. It's just has been a very educational run for me in that sense of teaching me the power of throwing stuff. I've always liked throwing, you know, boomerangs, and I guess tomahawks aren't in the game anymore, but they used to be, and things like that. For early game, I thought that was an effective thing, and then I just kind of like would phase it out, like, alright, it doesn't do enough damage anymore. But they have, through the versions, really, really started to make it more potent as a means of attack. And I think I'm going to go ahead and stop this episode here with Layer 2 complete. So we completed the Orcish Mines, we completed the first floors of the Lair, we went through a Gauntlet. We're now experienced level 14, 32 armor class. We still have this crummy buckler, but things are really, really coming together for this character. I feel extremely powerful and strong, especially with this addition of silver javelins and the gloves of archery. So we will pick up here next time and plow into the Lair a little bit deeper. Everyone, thank you so much for checking this out. If you have any tips or suggestions, please post them in the comments below. And if you like this series or these videos, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when more come out. And I'm putting them out at a pretty rapid clip here. So I will see you in the next episode. Peace.